Welcome to this video on client-server architecture. In this series on distributed systems, we will explore one of the most fundamental patterns in computing, how clients and servers communicate over a network. The client-server model is the foundation of almost everything you use on the internet today, from websites to mobile apps to cloud services. By the end of this video, you will understand how requests and responses work, and how this simple but powerful pattern enables distributed communication. Client-server architecture is a computing model where clients request services and resources from centralized servers across a network. Think of it like a restaurant. The customer is the client, and the restaurant kitchen is the server. The customer asks for what they want, the kitchen prepares it, and then delivers it back. In software, clients initiate communication by sending requests to servers. Servers listen for these requests, process them, and send back responses. This separation of concerns makes systems scalable, maintainable, and easier to secure. Every client-server system has three core components. First, the client. This is the device or application that requests services. Examples include web browsers, mobile apps, or any software that needs data or functionality from elsewhere. Second, the network. This is the medium that carries requests and responses between clients and servers. It uses protocols like TCP/IP to ensure reliable delivery. Third, the server. This is a computer or service that listens for client requests, processes them according to business rules, and sends back responses with the requested data or confirmation of an action. All three work together to enable distributed communication. The request-response model describes how clients and servers exchange information. The process is simple but repeats constantly. First, a client sends a request to the server. This request travels over the network to reach the server. Next, the server receives and processes the request. It might query a database, perform calculations, or check permissions. Then, the server sends a response back through the network. Finally, the client receives the response and takes action based on it, such as displaying data or showing a confirmation message. This cycle repeats for every interaction between client and server. HTTP requests have a specific structure that tells the server exactly what the client wants. Every request starts with a request line, which contains the method, the path, and the HTTP version. For example, get/index.html HTTP 1.1. Next come headers, which are metadata about the request. Headers include information like the host name, user agent, and what type of content the client can accept. Then there is an empty line that separates headers from the body. Finally, the body contains optional data that the client sends to the server. This is commonly used with POST and PUT requests when sending form data or updating information. HTTP responses also follow a specific structure that tells the client whether the request was successful and what data to use. Every response starts with a status line, which includes the HTTP version and a status code. For example, HTTP 1.1200 next come headers, which provide metadata about the response, such as the content type, the size of the response body, and caching instructions. Then there is an empty line separating headers from the body. Finally, the body contains the actual data being returned. This might be an HTML page, a JSON object with user data, or an image file. The response structure mirrors the request structure, making the protocol consistent and predictable. HTTP defines several methods that express what action the client wants to perform. GET retrieves a representation of a resource from the server without modifying anything. This is read-only and the safest method to use. POST sends data to the server to create a new resource or trigger processing. For example, submitting a form or uploading a file uses POST/PUT replaces an entire resource with the data sent in the request body. It is an update operation that completely overwrites the existing resource. DELET removes a specific resource from the server. Choosing the correct method is important because it tells the server the intent of the request and helps maintain predictable behavior. HTTP status codes are 3-digit numbers that describe the outcome of a request. 200 codes represent success. When you get a 200 OK, the request was successful, and the response body contains the requested data. 300 codes represent redirection. A 301 moved permanently tells the client that the resource has moved to a new location, and the client should use the new URL in the future. 400 codes represent client errors. A 400 bad request means the client sent something invalid, and 404 not found means the requested resource does not exist. 500 codes represent server errors. A 500 internal server error indicates the server encountered an unexpected problem while processing the request. Status codes let clients automatically handle different scenarios without reading the response body. When you browse the web, you're using the client-server model in action. Here is what happens. You enter a URL like https://example.com into your browser. The browser, acting as the client, sends an HTTP GET request for that page. The request travels over the internet to the web server hosting example.com. The server receives the request and retrieves the HTML file for the home page. The server sends back an HTTP response with a 200 OK status and the HTML content in the response body. Your browser receives the response, parses the HTML, loads any images or resources referenced in it, and renders the complete web page on your screen. This entire process happens in milliseconds, which is why web pages load so quickly. APIs, or application programming interfaces, also use the request-response model. Here is how it works. A mobile app or web application needs data, so it sends an HTTP request to an API endpoint, such as https://api.example.com/users. The request reaches the API gateway, which is an entry point that routes the request to the appropriate backend service. The backend service processes the request. It might validate the data, check permissions, query a database, or perform business logic. The service then sends back an HTTP response with a status code and a JSON body containing the requested data. The client app receives the response, parses the JSON, and uses the data to update the user interface. This pattern is the same as web browsing, but instead of receiving HTML, the client receives structured data in JSON format. To build reliable distributed systems, follow these key principles. First, maintain clear responsibilities. Keep your client focused on user interface and interaction, while the server handles business rules, validation, and data persistence. This separation makes both easier to develop and test. Second, establish stable contracts. Treat each API endpoint as a version contract between client and server. Avoid breaking changes in request and response formats so that clients do not break when you update the server. Third, send efficient requests. Prefer fewer well-designed requests over many small ones. Use the correct HTTP methods and leverage caching with appropriate status codes. Fourth, prioritize safety and reliability. Secure endpoints with authentication and authorization to control access. Handle timeouts, retries, and error responses gracefully in both client and server code. These practices ensure your systems are maintainable, scalable, and resilient. In this video, you have learned the foundations of client-server architecture and the request-response model. You now understand the 3 core components: clients, networks, and servers. You know how HTTP requests and responses are structured, what methods and status codes mean, and how the model applies to real-world scenarios like web browsing and API calls. You also understand key practices for building reliable systems. Where should you go from here? Explore how applications maintain state across multiple requests, even though each request is independent. Learn about server-side patterns like caching, load balancing, and horizontal scaling to handle millions of clients. Connect this model to other communication styles, such as streaming and message queues. Most importantly, apply these ideas when designing your own APIs and building distributed systems. Thank you for watching this Distributed Systems Series episode, and I hope you now have a solid understanding of client-server communication.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.